Hello, oh, Coffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and this is the player ratings video for Everton's 2-0 win over Burnley. I've just filmed the instant match reaction to the match where I took a bit more in depth about the game itself. So if you haven't watched that, then please go and check it out on the Coffee Blues channel. But yeah, without further ado, really, I think I say like talking about the match. Obviously, I think it was another, you know, not exactly a blowout performance, I guess. We didn't batter Burnley, didn't create like tons of chances, but it was one of those where, we really dug deep, and fought hard and defended really well. And then when our chances came, we took them really well, mostly hitting them on set pieces. So I think, it's that's quite well reflected in the stats, which you'll see in the as the defenders are probably getting the higher ratings than maybe the attackers, which is yeah, it's just to be expected, I'd say, in a performance like that. So yeah, obviously, I think Pickford, just to start off on the back, of course, I thought he didn't have too much to do. Made a really good save in the second half from I'm not sure who it was who had the shot in the end actually, but it was from about 20 yards out. One that was swerving quite a bit, but it's reached a point now where you almost expect Pickford to make those saves really, and you just have full confidence that it'd have to be a really good, like, well taken shot from that far out to even cause him any real issues, to be honest. So that's probably the only real notable save I can remember him making, if I'm honest, which just goes to show how well we defended. But at the same time, if there were ever like, loose crosses that came his way or whatever, he was always, as ever, calm, slowing the pace down when he needed to, and every now and then looking to launch us on the counter attack with a long ball, which are definitely getting better. So he's always been a little hit and miss. We know in his locker that every now and then he can pull out a really good long pass, but I think he's getting a lot more consistent with it now, and he seems to be also getting a much better grasp on when to go long and when to play it short and maybe calm it down a little bit, which is really positive to see. So yeah, we'll give Pickford a 7, and then moving on to the actual defenders, I think if we start with Patterson, he's the only I think. Well, actually, no, we'll get into that in a bit, but actually, I'd give Patterson a 6, bit lower than the rest of the defenders. We'll see in a minute. I think obviously there's been a lot of calls for him to be starting matches, and like, I don't want to pardon him or say that he played badly at all because he didn't. Like I say, a 6 is still a bang average match rating. Like didn't play amazingly well, but didn't have a bad game by any means. But I think there's just still a few times where you can see really not he's just not quite got that experience that a Coleman or even an Ashley Young has. He's got a bit more pace and a bit more like physical attributes to him compared to those players who are a bit older. But it's still that nous, which I think it does suggest a little bit why Deitch is hesitant to be starting him week in, week out. But that's obviously it's still learning. He's still a very young lad, so I'm not piling on him at all. It was specifically more where like he'd get caught out a bit too high at the pitch, and if he gets beaten by a player, he seems always to make the foul when you need to pick your moments. And there wasn't any time where like a player was beating him and was going to be in behind, which is when you maybe make those tackles or whatever, or to to stop a counter attack breakaway. It was usually in areas of the pitch where we had it covered anyway. I actually thought he was quite fortunate not to get booked in the first half, to be honest. There was one quite rash tackle where which he didn't need to make because Godfrey had it covered. So it's just little things like that. But like I said, not a bad game for Patterson at all, and hopefully we see a bit more of him in the coming weeks. But yeah, speaking of Godfrey, I just mentioned there, obviously came into the side today. I think it's his first start of the season. Obviously, he's fallen a bit out of favour in recent years. Obviously he made a really good start to his Everton career under Ancelotti, and it's not quite worked out for him since. Obviously, he's struggled with injuries. Obviously, had the long COVID effect where he didn't really quite seem the same player for a while. And obviously, he doesn't quite seem to have that like raw pace and like power about him like he did when he first came in. But I thought today was actually a very solid defensive performance from him. And obviously, he had that individual moment of brilliance in the first half where he right at the end of the first half, in fact, where the ball was played over. Probably the only time in the game that we got caught out, as I mentioned in the reaction video. But he reacts really well to it and manages to block out the cross across goal, which is it's going to be a certain goal. Basically, is what he stops because it's just a tap in after that, and he manages to not only get in the way of it, but manages to divert it behind the goal rather than scoring an own goal, which is. in that position is actually harder to do, harder than it looks, I'd say. So yeah, like I said, a really solid performance from Godfrey, to be fair. And I think we've always kind of seen that he seems to do a little better in a three man defence. And I thought that was a good decision by Dyche to go with that, given the lack of options that we had. And then Michael Keane as well. Similarly, I thought again there were worries about both of them having to come into the side due to Brantford and Mikalenko missing out the match. So, but again, I thought Keane had a really solid game. And yeah, just like I say, he actually ended up getting man of the match on Sky Sports. So yeah, that says it all really. I wouldn't quite give him man of the match here. Like I say, I'd give him a 7 as well, like I did with Godfrey. But not to say that he didn't have a really good game, and obviously gets our second goal really well taken. I thought the actual that initial strike was actually really good. And it drew a really good save, and then obviously it's a bit of luck, but at the same time he has to react to being in a position to put it away, which he does really well. So like I say, all credit to him. He's another one who fans like to pile in on, but at the same time, when he puts in a performance like that, he's only going to get praise really. So yeah, like I say, a really good performance from Keane there, and a 7 for him as well. Another one for Tarkowski as well, his former teammate at Burnley, who again just looks solid as ever. Didn't let any sort of occasion of going back to Turf Moor for the first time affect him. He was just rock solid, really led the defence by example very well. A real captain's performance as ever, as we're getting used to seeing now. He's proven to be a very good captain for us, which is really positive to see. And it was just a case of whenever we needed to calm it down, he was always like, first on it. And like, if we're ever under pressure and the ball gets to him, he manages to just, lower the tempo down and pick the right pass and just never flustered really. And winning loads of good flick-ons as well, of course. Like I said, I mentioned that Keane goal and him taking it really well only happens because Tarkowski gets a really good flick on, despite the fact he's got like two Burnley players all over him, really. So, yeah, like I said, another really positive performance from him. I think as well, uh, it was a very astute decision from Dyche to put him out on the left and make sure he's covering that side if he needs to, because we have McNeil at left wing back. Obviously, needs must. I thought it was, like I mentioned before, I think it was the right decision to go five at the back today, as proven by the performance. Really, I think we would have been too easy to break down with just a flat back four and either a Godfrey or a Keane next to Tarkowski with a McNeil at left back or even a Godfrey at left back. I guess I think we would have found ourselves being caught out a lot more. But that was probably the only concern for me. I think obviously, like I say, needs must, but obviously McNeil is not a natural left back, so there's no blame pinned to him at all. Of course, having to fill in, and obviously he's one of those players that just seems like he'll just get on with wherever the gaffer wants to play him. But it was clear that him and Harrison, they hadn't had a lot of time to work on being a left flank together, and didn't really seem to know where each other needed to be and stuff. And it was definitely something that Burnley were looking to exploit a lot and were trying to catch us out down their right hand side quite a bit. So I feel quite harsh with it, and obviously it's probably added to the fact that he probably should have scored that header at the start of the game as well, McNeil. But he's probably going to have to get a 5 in this game for me. Obviously it's completely out of his hands really. Playing in that position. And obviously, it's probably more to do with the fact of how good a run of form he's been in lately that it was such a noticeable drop off in performance from him. But hopefully, with the likes of Mikalenko and Brantford coming back into the team, hopefully for Tuesday's match against Fulham, then McNeil will be right back to his best out of the left wing again, where he's a lot more comfortable. And then similarly with Harrison, obviously got moved around quite a bit at the match. Started it on the right, got moved over to the left to try and help McNeil and Tarkowski out on the left hand side there. And I say, kind of, he worked his socks off, which I think is why I'm going to give him a 6. Like I say, it wasn't his best game, but wasn't his worst either. I think, most of the time when he got on the ball, he was making the right decisions and helping us drive up the pitch when he needed to. But just a bit of a bang average game for him, really. So yeah, just a standard 6 for Harrison. And then moving into the central midfield, I'm going to do James Garner and Amadou Onana together, I think, because I'm giving them both 8s. I thought they were our standout performers today. Onana's just winning everything in midfield as ever, really dictating the game, playing at his pace, which just goes to show how talented a player, despite his young age, he is, that he's able to do that. Obviously Burnley aren't the greatest opposition, but at the same time, it was such a commanding display from Amadou Onana and just goes to show what we've been missing would we have been able to put in a performance quite as composed if we had Garner there? I don't know. I think we would have missed someone like Onana in a game like this. And you do notice him when he's gone now, I think. So which just goes to show really um what a great performer he is. And then Garner as well. I think if I had to pick a man in a match, James Garner would just edge it for me because he was being played all over the shop, started on the left, got moved out to the right, then got put back in the middle where he's a bit more comfortable. Once the Corey got taken off at half time and just chased everything. Like I say, it was interesting that I think, we changed things up a little bit based on the change of formation. And usually it's Decore triggering the press for us. It wasn't in the first half. He was a bit more further back and we let Garner lead the press. And I thought he did it really, really well, to be fair to him. And like I say, being played in three different positions during the match and still just not putting a foot wrong all game. All credit to him, and yeah, what a player he's proven out to be as well. To be fair to him, so yeah, another really top performance from James Garner, who would get my man of the match shout. So yeah, an 8 for him as well. And speaking of the Corey, obviously we mentioned him a little bit in there. Wasn't quite his game today. I'm not quite sure. Like I say, he got taken off at half time, which apparently was an injury concern. Hopefully, just a precaution. Looking ahead to the obviously to us playing again in 3 days. We'd like him fit for the game against Fulham. But yeah, he didn't really quite get as involved as much as usual to call. And obviously, like I say, as I mentioned, he was playing a bit further back and not triggering the press like he usually does. But you know, it's not like he did anything wrong. So again, I think we'll give him a 6 really. And yeah, that's all I really have to say on the Corey, to be honest. Like I say, definitely had a quieter game than usual. And then Calvert-Lewin, again, you could probably argue didn't maybe get as involved as much as he would have liked, but at the same time, as ever, winning every header possible, and obviously holding out the play when he needed to, drawing fouls and stuff like that. Didn't really have too many chances for him again. Like I say at the start, we didn't really create as many chances as maybe we've been used to this game. That wasn't really quite what it was about. It was mostly taking chances and set pieces and then sitting back and absorbing any pressure that Burnley might throw at us, and mostly just letting them have the ball really. So obviously Calvert-Lewin was helping with the press there. Did his job well. Another, just standard performance from Calvert-Lewin, really, the type of thing that we've come to expect from him. So yeah, I guess based on that parameters, a 6 is probably the fairest. Excuse me. Probably the fairest rating to give to him. And then moving on to the subs. Obviously, it was Dobbin and Beto. Dobbin comes on at half time for the Corey, as we mentioned, being hopefully taken off as a precaution, as we said. And Dobbin was put out on the right for the match. Again, like I say, especially in the second half, we sat off a lot more and weren't pressing anywhere near as much. But obviously, whenever we did get out of the pitch, Darwin was usually involved and had a few good touches here and there. But like I say, definitely says a lot. I think that he's being trusted over Danjuma at the moment when it comes to making a sub on the wings. And really starting to prove himself now. Obviously, after that high from last week against Chelsea, I don't think anyone was expecting a repeat of that. But another solid performance from Dobbin, really. And like I said, good to see him getting more minutes in the tank. So we'll give him a 6 as well. And then Better, of course, obviously didn't wasn't on the pitch for long, but as ever, usually come out to help us see out games and help like give us something a bit different up front. Obviously fresh legs, bit more raw paced in Calvert-Lewin, and gets himself back about a little bit more. Not afraid to get stuck in, as we saw, of course, with that bizarre incident where Trafford's getting caught out in the middle of the pitch and Better absolutely charging at him, and obviously, Trafford probably wasn't exactly thrilled about that, but just about managed to get away with it. But yeah, just goes to show really Better likes to be a bit of a nuisance really, and obviously, we finally reaped the benefits of that when he came on and got a third goal off the bench against Newcastle. But yeah, never standard 6 and Better really. Like I say, no one had a particularly bad game. Like I said, I gave it near the 5. Perhaps a little harsh, based on the fact he was playing out of position, but like I say, he was getting caught out quite a lot, and that was clearly something that Burnley recognised. But yeah, this has been the players' rating video for Everton's win against Burnley. Please leave a comment down below, giving your thoughts and who you thought was the man of the match and who perhaps maybe didn't have their best of games. And subscribe to the Top of Beach channel for more Everton content. And we will see you in the next video. Cheers.